Okay, episode number 10, Bodybuilding Room 101. And today's guest is my coach extraordinaire, Martin Winston. Today, Martin, you're here to tell us the things you want to add to Room 101. Fire away.
Right. Hello, everybody. My number one. Now, this could be very controversial. We may have both, I don't know if you have, Chudley, but NABBA, UKBFF, the days of old, they were the go-tos. They were the go-to shows. And I feel, my personal sort of opinion is that they should either up their game or just disappear. I've been to a couple of shows and I've heard a lot about recent shows, and it's almost embarrassing, some of them, which is a shame, because they were the sort of the original. That's where everybody started from our era anyway. And I just feel that.
Sorry to interrupt. Is that how you feel about like the likes of Pure Elite and Miami Pro and all these? So I have a show this weekend. I got a client. She likes the Pure Elite, and yeah. I am dreading that. Like, I know that I'm going to turn up and it's going to be 1 million people, none of them in shape, and it's just going to be fucking atrocious. And that show last time we done it didn't end until midnight.
Mate, don't get me wrong. That I've got guys who compete. I've got a British champion who won on Sunday, the British champion men's physique at UKBFF. The standard to a degree is there at a very small percentage. I've got a guy doing the NABBA uni on Saturday. He's very, very good. Potentially could win it. But the sort of when I competed in NABBA and UKBFF, the days were long and they were stacked with very, very good competitors. Like every single category, you know what I mean? And they were run.
There's just so many shows being run now. Like every weekend, every weekend you got a FitX and a PCA, and they're all like at the same time.
Yeah, and it's, as a coach that has a lot of competitors that I like to go to all their shows, it's geographically impossible for me to do so. Amanda, she'll go to potentially one where girls are, I'll go to a different one, but then the shows are on the same day as well, and it's almost down to, right, how many guys have I got at one show? That takes priority, sort of thing. And it's happened a few times this year, which is a shame, because I want to be at pretty much all my client shows, which is a ball ache because I live in the furthest part of the country away from anybody. But it's one of those things. There's all these new federations coming through. We got our go-tos, the 2 Bros, PCA, FitX, okay. But then you've got all these pure elites, Miami Pro,
NFM UK,
NMF UK. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Like, some of the standard is good, but like, is there too many now?
We almost touched on that with whether the standard at the 2 Bros is better than the PCA, and we almost came to the conclusion that the 2 Bros has got the highest standard, but it's almost like the highest, like the cream of the crop is at the top, and then the rest is like build up of a load of just shit, and the rest of it, like PCA, is a lot more like everyone's decent enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we came to that conclusion that PCA's probably got the most good people, but 2 Bros has the best, like absolute elite 2 Bros. Then PCA is good, and then rest after that.
Yeah, and like, I think FitX as well is just not as it's new. Like, PCA's been around for a long time. It's been able to develop, and I think that's where FitX will do the same.
I agree.
Do you like the FitX?
Yeah. Darren's a great guy. Got on really well. I was meant to, unfortunately, I just didn't have anybody at the FitX final this year. I would have gone up with it. I think Amanda had a couple of girls on the day, but yeah, like, for some reason, a lot of my clients have been attracted towards 2 Bros and PCA this year. Like I said, I've had a couple of guys do UKBFF and NABBA, IBFA as well.
Have you seen the actual lineups at UKBFF this year? So what do you reckon?
My guy who won the men's physique British champ, he then went into the overall, and I don't think he got a stage till 10 p.m. So that. and he was there from like not 9 or 10 p.m. in the morning.
So they're still really busy.
Yeah, but whether they're really busy or just very, like, I've heard of NABBA. I didn't go to this show, but I think it was like the NABBA West in Bristol, and they were having like 45, 50-minute breaks, and there was like minimal competitors, you know what I mean? And they would the MC was literally like getting the names wrong. Like he was like 72, sat behind the mic. It's just I don't know.
The thing is, that's fine, because if people want to enter, that's fine. But then you plan it out so that the heavyweight bodybuilders are, you know, priority. And maybe we just think that because that's our thing. But like, just the bikini girls can be last because, you know, I mean, it's not that difficult to peak them, right? But a bodybuilder needs a lot more. Timing's a lot more important.
Yeah, I had 2 guys in the IBFA. They're actually against Johnny Reed in the overall. Daz Fulton and Leon. So they won class 2, class 3, but they weren't on until like 7 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? Yeah, we had a time frame, and like it was looking at about 5 o'clock, which is cool because you can work towards that. But then as it gets longer, you're like, right, okay, we need to really sort of look at getting on stage soon, because there's only so much more I can do for you, and there's only so much food they can take with you.
I tell you what, mate. You know, so at the Universe, when you were peaking me, you were like, go get some more jam, go get some more jam. By the time I'd done the pro show, it was fucking, I don't know, it must have been about 8 o'clock at night or something. I was stuffed. I was like full, like, and that's what it is, being a heavyweight, super heavyweight, sorry, and having to eat that amount of food. By the time it gets to that time, how am I going to be fresh? How am I going to be at my best? Yeah, it's really fucking, I don't know.
Yeah, it was.
I remember when I first started competing, it was UKBFF. Yeah, and they were always so slow. I will say this: PCA seems like it's really like swift.
Yeah, they want to get it done. Two bros even more so. Like you're in and out. Like
like you'll be done by midday.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I was in Prague the weekend with Lewis, and that was run really well. Bodybuilding, I think, was a pre-judging. I think they were second or third on, and that started at like 10 o'clock in the morning. So he was on at about 11 a.m. For pre-judging.
What did you think of Krizo's look? Obviously, you're
about to say
that.
Impressive from a like freaky point of view. Like the man is like, I was like literally 2 foot away from him,
right?
Like, it backstage, just chilling, and like his arms were like the size of my torso. But up close, you could see the condition just wasn't there. Like I'm talking like 4 or 5 weeks out.
Do you think that he's doing that on purpose, though? Not to blow his load too early, so to speak.
I don't know, mate, because on stage it was annoying and frustrating from a coach who has an athlete on that stage who has put everything into that show. His I don't know, his lazy approach on stage. He was gassed out. His tan was crap. He didn't put any effort into it. You know what I mean? And it just, I don't know, it wound me up because he sort of like just walked on stage thinking, yeah, I've got this sort of thing. I don't have to put the effort into posing. I don't have to tan. Don't get me wrong. He's very good. Like as impressive, like the amount of tissue that he holds. And when he does pose, he comes alive. But from an overall package, potentially, he should have won on the day. But from a conditioning point of view, he was way off. And like if he goes to the Olympia like that, he's going to get smoked, I think.
I mean, I saw a comparison of him against Ian Valier today on Instagram, and he smokes Ian, to be honest with you. But Ian's got that gnarly conditioning, you know, that sort of like granite condition. Yeah. And I think, as you say, Krizo, he's going to be exposed at the Olympia because no one's turning up there half-fired.
Ian always places it as high as he does because of that, and it's important. And I think the excuse of, well, I'm just there to just do enough just to get my pro card, fair enough. But then when you go to the pros, like it's different, isn't it? Surely you can't do that.
Lewis was on, like we couldn't have done anything else for Lewis, and I felt like it's almost disheartening because you're not rewarded for the amount. Like everybody, like from an amateur level, we do so well, and like I've had such a really good few years. Ryan, you've sort of smashed it. You know what I mean? We put everything into it, and we're up there. You know what I mean? But then Lewis to like place 10th, and you're almost like disheartened. But yes, I get it. It's the pro level, but I feel, and this is not from a biased point of view, it's from an unbiased. Take a step back. Let's look at this point of view. I do feel that Lewis should have placed a few places higher. There was a few, like, again, politics in bodybuilding. Where do we go? Where do we start? I think you talked about this with someone a couple of weeks ago.
Oh no.
Yeah. Like it was a Prague show. There was a lot of Prague boys there who are sponsored by EVLS, who run the show.
It's interesting to hear you say his conditioning wasn't on, but he still deserved the win. Now, this is something that I've come across because I actually I began judging. I've only done one show, but I began judging, and it became very apparent to me that was something that was heavily weighted. For me, in my mind, if you're not fully conditioned, you have to be punished. But
I agree.
I literally watched it happen in front of my eyes. People with better structure being rewarded over people who are properly conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
You see it time and time again. So, what's your opinion on that? So you stand by that? You think structure counts for more? No.
Overall package, you got to take a fair balance of an individual muscle mass, density, condition, flow, symmetry. And I think if an individual has all of that to their maximum and they fit the criteria, that should be rewarded. Not right, okay, he's got the muscle mass, but condition's not quite there, but we'll give it to him because of his pure structure. And I don't think that should be rewarded in my eyes.
And I think it is quite a lot of the times.
Two bros especially, they do that quite a lot, it seems.
Yeah, it's an IFBB sort of judging way, I guess.
So structure is the structure, then everything else.
To a degree, if it's a lot of muscle, I think that is rewarded.
It's like if there's enough condition.
Yeah.
Like as long as you surpass a certain level, if you've got that much muscle mass, you get it.
Yeah. Which in my eyes, like we've all been at that stage where you're 4 or 5 weeks out and you know how much more you have to put into to get to that level of crazy condition, and then how much like hard work is required to get there. And then for someone to just turn up and be like, yeah, I've done enough, sort of thing, it's almost sort of.
Well, mate, the show I did before I came to you, the guy who beat me was definitely thicker.
Yeah.
I was watching him backstage, and even Tom, Evolution Trainer, came up to me and he was like, easy. He came up to me, tapped me on the shoulder, he was like, easy, all day. I got in my own head. I was looking at him and I was thinking, he's not ready. He is not ready, so I'm going to beat him easy. And he fucking beat me. God. Looking back at those photos sort of 18 months on, I feel like he probably did deserve it. I feel like I was not at my best. I was coming back from an injury. I just wasn't quite there.
Yeah.
It was the first show post-COVID as well, wasn't it?
Yes.
That outside two, bro.
Yeah. Fucking terrible lighting. I was coming back from, I was downsized in the off season. So I started prep at like a deficit, you know, which was my mistake. But then I joined you.
Yeah, I thought like 4 weeks out, you looked really good. You got these shots hitting the most muscular in Spartans.
Yeah.
I thought fucking hell, that looked good. Yeah. You know, and then.
Yeah.
They didn't have me at the time.
yeah. It's true. But yeah, after that, there's just such a bitter taste in my mouth. And that's when I called you, and I got my revenge on him anyway. We went head to head the next show and I beat him. So yeah, that was your doing, I reckon.
Yeah. You used to over diet a lot, didn't you? Yeah.
100%. And being with Martin's been an eye opener to me. Like I always laugh. Like to Martin, he just thinks, yeah, that's what happens. But to me, it's new. I would never go as hard as Martin goes. It's mad. And as I say, Martin is probably like, yeah, for a big guy. Like to me, it's crazy. Yeah. It was one day, wasn't it, before the Southwest? It was like 1,400 grams of carbs or something like that. Yeah. The day before the show. And mate, no way. Yeah. For me, it would be like 400, 500. And careful.
Too much.
Yeah.
The thing is,
I used to go below 100 grams of carbs. I used to go an hour cardio. I used to fucking hammer myself. I know that's stupid, and I would never do that for someone else my size, but I still did it. It's weird.
The thing is that we had so many conversations about it, and the way that you approach things now is completely different. And the results speak, so it works.
You can see that in your look. So
yeah, definitely. Since joining you, it's been fucking good. It's definitely a step up. So,
so what was the point? Where
did we go?
NABBA and UKBFF.
Yeah.
So the competitors should look better.
No.
Well, that, but also no. Actually, on that note, I actually wanted to talk to you about this because I had a conversation with Ewan, who you know, Martin. You don't know him. Oh yeah, you had him on.
We did a podcast with him.
Sorry, Ewan, if you're watching this. Anyway, we had a conversation, and he was talking about how the old school bodybuilders, as in when I say old school, I mean UKBFF days, the Ashers, the Hollingsheads, the Luke Sando, you know, that level of guy. He said it's so much better than what it is now. What's your opinion on that? Like the 2013 to 2016 crew compared to now, how do you think that compares?
I think social media plays a massive part in this. I know it sounds weird, but obviously back then, bodybuilding wasn't as big as what it is now. So the few individuals that could bodybuild stood out, and you'd have 1 or 2 big shows a year where these individuals would come together and be on stage together. Now with so many shows across the year, those individuals, if you can picture like the top 3 of every show for a Two Bros show and then put them all together at one show, you know what I mean? That would be a good day to watch, you know what I mean? Whereas that would, what happened back then, it was your British final where you had everybody, NABBA British, UKBFF British, you'd have the giants, the good guys, all coming together to fight for that one spot. And like I said, if you could narrow down the competitors at that level now, potentially, I would say it would be the same. Does that make sense to a degree?
Yeah.
You'd like sort of remove all, not like the sort of the ones that are not chasing the pro card. You know what I mean? The guys that you're talking about are pro level, the guys chasing the pro card now, put them all together on a stage, it's going to be a good show.
In a nutshell, that it's been watered down because there's so many competitors, whereas it was a more concentrated quality level.
Yeah, 100%.
This is what I said. My argument was because he said about Laurie Carr, and Laurie Carr is really. Do you remember Laurie Carr?
Yeah,
like amazing. And he was like, yeah, I mean, there's just no supers anymore like that. There's just not. And I thought, I'm a super. Yeah. I was like, hold on, do you honestly think Laurie Carr would like blow me out of the water? There's like no competition. And he was like, I was like, okay. So I did a little side by side and sent it to him. Laurie's never going to watch this, but if he is, there's no disrespect. I think Laurie's amazing myself. My point is, it's not like there and here. It's closer than what Ewan was making out. Ewan was making out that there was this big gap between, and I don't agree with that. No,
it's because it's saturated. Because again, social media plays a part in, which is great because everybody's into fitness now and everybody wants to. But the amount of competitors now stepping on stage that potentially wouldn't step on stage if social media was around.
Good point. Good point. Yeah.
I actually literally said that the other day in a story because
keep talking. I'm just getting my cat. Keep talking.
The amount of people that will just go on, just because you can go on stage doesn't mean you should. Like I just said, like my nan can enter a show. Like you pay your fee, you enter. You know, and there's no one to. You don't get judged before you go on stage.
UKUP will have a category for it, saying over 80s.
Right, but you don't, before you go on stage, you don't get assessed by a judge and they look at you and think you're too fat, get off. No, you just go on. So just because you can compete, it doesn't mean you should. So I think you get that a lot now.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, it's keeping us busy, sure. But and that's where I feel that social media is the sort of unnecessary evil, or necessary evil, should we say?
Yeah.
Well, we could go on and on about that.
Yeah, but it's good and bad. It's good and bad for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But like going back to what we were saying, quality of athletes is here now as it was back then. I just feel that it's saturated and flooded by the amount of people that do want to compete, which is cool, and that is absolutely fine. I love the fact that so many, like I've got kids coming to me, 15, 16-year-olds, like mate, I really want to get into bodybuilding. I want to compete. Where do I start? And I love that because I wasn't doing that at 15 and 16. You know what I mean? And I've taken a few of these guys on, and their love and their passion for it is incredible. You know what I mean? And you know that they're just going to do so well, and like not just in bodybuilding life, that you can just see it. That it's sort of one kid that I've got at the moment. He dropped out of school. He's now over in Thailand filming for like TikTok and shit for like 4 weeks at 16. It's like,
yeah,
it's
fucking
crazy.
mad. But imagine how good you can be if you start at 15, 16. Imagine by the time you're 21, 22, you're going to be unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, I started at that age, didn't it?
Well, yeah, you're 25. Your level of muscle mass is pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah.
There's, you know, I know 25 is not young, but you're still pretty young compared to us.
Yeah.
I guess it's knowledge. It's knowledge as well. Like what we knew back then was what we know now in comparison.
Well, yeah. Yeah, actually, on that note, Joe, you definitely excelled past your years. You know, when you were coming up. Here's my cap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, now you see people that are like 20 and they're huge, and you think, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So it's inspiring, but also sometimes scary seeing some of the things that people are doing at a very young age. But don't get me wrong, I did some stupid stuff when I was young. Like not taught, not listen to anybody, just listen to someone on the internet probably.
Literally today I come across a guy in the gym, and he was telling me how he was told to take 8 mil of test for his first cycle when he was 12 stone. He did. He fucking did.
Yeah.
How long did he last?
He didn't actually tell me how long it went on for, but he said that he reckons psychologically it really fucked him up. He was like, I goes, why didn't you do more research? And he goes, I don't know, this guy, I knew him, and he was the big guy down the gym. It's literally got the stereotype of what you hear. It literally happened like this guy.
Yeah. Thing is that, and then hopefully he's learned from that, and hopefully he's in a better position now. But obviously, it affected him. But isn't it? It's going way off track again.
Yeah, right. Let's get a conclusion. Okay, NABBA and UKBFF, should they carry on or should they fuck off? Dave, you go.
Well, yeah, fuck them all off. Just condense it down to 2 bros, FitX, and PCA. Fuck everyone else off, and that's it. All of these, like what all these like federations that have just cropped up this year. I look at this. It's a show. I have BDA or like whatever the fuck. It's like, what the fuck is that? And they've got like some stupid like. You've seen like the rewards they'll get, like the medals. Like it's like a fucking skull, and you just think, what the fuck is that?
Wait, one of the 2 of the categories crack me up. One's called beach, and the other one's called I can't remember what it was called, but it cracked me up. But
do you remember WBFF? My best friend at the time, he was in it, and I was there like supporting him in the crowd. 2016, and they had a fashion round. Oh mate, this is fucking dog shit. He had to buy a suit and wear a suit.
The Pure Elite have that. They still got that.
Yeah, the WBFF pros. That's what they have to. They do a fashion round. Thing is, I know somebody I know a couple of people who do BFF pros, and they get
Alex Davies. Alex Davies.
Wes Grant and Paul Isaac. So Wes went over to the Bahamas, where basically you have to go to their hotel, you have to use their limousine services, you have to buy all their clothes, and literally get sucked into their
little world.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Which is cool, like but it's not for everybody.
Hey, listen, to each their own, right? But if you're a bodybuilding fan, that shit is not going to fly. That's terrible. For the purists out there, that is shit. So I think we can agree. Either up your game. Sorry
to interrupt. Worse so is when they say, I'm a WBF, whatever the fuck, pro.
Yeah,
and
pro athlete.
Yeah. And it's like,
I nearly had that one in my my list today, but I didn't put it in there.
When people come third in their category and get a pro card,
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. When you're doing an NPC and you're doing an amateur Olympia, that's justifiable.
Well, that's different. That's the different grade, mate. Different grade. But yeah, okay, so the conclusion is, unless you're fucking up to date and you're actually producing quality athletes, you should fuck off. Yes. Yeah. In room 101. Martin, next point.
Next point. My phone is now locked. Bear with me.
No worries.
Sore subject. Competitors who have competed once, never helped anybody in their life, but next thing they've got a fitness page and they're offering online services.
An app.
Yeah.
They get an app as well. And you're like, oh man, you've never done anything.
I sent you that guy.
There's nothing wrong with apps. If you've done nothing.
Do you remember I sent one guy in our group chat, and he literally competed that weekend, and he changed his like thingy on Instagram to a coach now, and he looked dog shit. He looked awful.
Well, again, it's just not regulated heavily enough. I mean, I get it, right? Everyone's got to start somewhere. You have to start 100%. Somewhere. And I don't know. Like, I think the problem is if you're stupid enough to go to someone like that, then I don't know.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong. Like you say, everybody's got to start somewhere. And I learned from some of the best people in the industry when I was younger. I didn't even advertise my services until I've been doing this 10 years. Didn't even advertise my services until what, 2018? You know what I mean? So like, I just helped people out and just did people when social media was coming through. You know what I mean? I was still doing all this shit before that and just helping people. And I didn't feel myself worthy that I could even, something really Cornish then, didn't see myself worthy enough to even advertise my services. You know what I mean? And I think people are too quick to jump the gun thinking that they're gonna, I don't know.
I think we all did that, didn't we? We've all started off with people asking questions and you just answered shit for free for, you know, and then over time, I mean, now, neither of us, I don't see, like none of us like actually constantly put stories that, oh, message me for coaching or that whole thing. I need 5 guys. Fuck off.
Don't get me wrong. Like there's been a time where like when I transitioned from when I was employed to basically becoming a full-time online coach, there was a period of time where I utilized those business models for a very short period of time, and it helped. But for
I
me,
don't see you. Maybe that's just now.
No,
I don't see you advertise. Like I don't ever advertise because I just see it as like really beggy. Yeah,
like I did it then for a very short period of time, and then it's not me, so then it stopped.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I can't do that sort of salesy, pitchy sort of thing.
I've got too much pride.
Yes.
I've had some great business mentors from a perspective of how to really maximize my service, but the things that I got taught on how to do sales pitches and things like that across social media, I just can't do. You know what I mean? It's not for me.
You just let your athletes speak for.
That is all I do. Is all.
Yeah, it's true though. It does, like word of mouth and your results, they speak volumes. You know, Craig Blade Online. Craig who's on the podcast. Yeah, so I'm really close with him, and he was telling me that because he went with Limitless, and Limitless have told him to speak to 20 to 25 new people a day. Basically cold calling, but via Instagram.
Yeah.
Just message people. Yeah.
Outbound market.
And it's literally just random. I've had people message me. They're like, I had one guy. He messaged me. He's like, "Oh, bro," he's like, "Have you got a coach?" And at the time, I was like, "Nah." He said, "Do you need a coach?" I'm like, I looked at him. I was like, I'm not trying to be horrible, but I should coach you, bro. I'm like, you know.
Yeah, like I said, I can tell you those business models. I can tell you how they work. There's outbound marketing. What you do, anybody shows interest on your post, all you do is fire a message to them saying, "Thanks for your interest, mate. If you need any help, let me know." And then the conversation starts. Then you go, right, okay. So if I can help in any way, here's my contact details. Send me a message, and I'll give you a call or whatever. Blah blah blah. I just can't do that.
No,
I think I've done it like bare minimal for like a week or two, and I was like, really can't do this.
I really hate it. And Amy would say to me, "Why don't you advertise?" And I did recently. I don't know if you guys have seen, but I have recently. But I don't, because it's almost like there's something stopping me. I'm like, if I find it cringy when you go too much.
Yeah.
But have you? I think we kind of touched on this before, Mike. But you know, the kind of kickback you get price wise. So how like how have you found that with like energy prices change and things like that? Has that been a thing for you?
I've recently put my prices up.
Yeah, me too.
But this is not me sounding in any way. I think the last couple of years that I've had in regards from a bodybuilder perspective, I'm not taking on any lifestyle clients now at all. I've got another coach that takes on my lifestyle clients. My price point for my competitors now are where they are. And you'll find that if you have a serious bodybuilder, they'll contact you and they'll be interested, and that'll be that. You know what I mean? I think from a lifestyle perspective, that's when you get kicked back. If you're at a point where you're umming and ahhing about something and then you hear a price point, it's going to be more the lifestyle people who are conscious about bills rising and the rise of fuel and things like that. Bodybuilders don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Bodybuilders spend money and waste money on everything. So, you know what I mean? If they're at a point and they're really committed, and they want to commit to a coach, you know what I mean? They already know, and they've got a ballpark figure in their head, I would say, realistically. And if it ticks their boxes, they're going to say, yeah. You know what I mean? Last couple of months for me have been ridiculously busy when I expected it to be shit. But whether that goes off my results that I've had recently, I don't know.
I think it definitely is. That's why I contacted you. I just kept seeing your name pop up. And you won the overall with Lewis, you won the overall with Andy, and Julian was talking about you, and someone else as well. So that was what drew me to you in the first place. But it's funny though, but we've talked about this before, and it's funny to talk about, but if I'd met you now and you'd said your new price, it might be a thing for me. Yeah, it's weird because I sound like a cheap ass, but part of me would be like, I don't know, like, I don't know if I would. I probably would because you're still really, really good. But in my mind, there might be a bit like, I don't know.
And I get that. And don't get me wrong, people have said, like, okay, no, that's cool, I'll think about it. And as soon as you know that conversation's happened, you're not seeing that guy again. You're not going to be, you know what I mean? Until maybe further on the line when they realise that they've gone to another coach and not got the service they want. And
that's true.
And it is priorities, because you see people, I'll speak to them and they spend 300 quid a month on growth. That's fine. Yeah, my growth's 300 quid a month. That's fine, or your gear and that. But coach, nah. Same with the food. If I set someone the prawns or salmon or all the expensive shit, and they're, that's too expensive, I can't afford it. But yet you're
worth of sushi on Saturday.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So when you break it down to people like that, it's
and like I respect that. You know what I mean? We've all been in the position where we have to think about money. You know what I mean? I respect that, but I feel that I want to provide a good service. I don't want, like, I'm at a point where I don't want to take on any more clients at all, really, to a certain degree. It's fucking sales pitch now. But you the amount of traveling that I do as well really takes up a lot of our time, and I have a level of number of where I want to be. You know what I mean? Ideally I want to see that number drop, so I have a life at the end of the day. I don't stop like you guys. We're constant, but ideal situation, you have maybe a day or two where you have free time. That means dropping your numbers. In retrospective, you have to up your price to be at the same price point where you are now to a certain degree. And for me, it's trying to find that balance where I do have a little bit of life.
I'm there now. My prices went up. I haven't got the same number anymore, but I make more because of that. And I have a little bit of time to myself to actually breathe a little bit. And to take this bodybuilding further, obviously you and I, we've got plans now to take this as far as I can go. And if I'm too run down with that, then I won't be able to be as good as I can be here. So
that's why I full prep.
I just get rid of client. Like, I'll do a clean out. If I see that a couple of decent people come over, and then I'll just clean out the people that I'll just say to them, look, I don't think you're doing what we have actually set for us to do, and I don't think I can help you. And then that's it. That's it. I just get rid of them.
Look, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm fortunate now to have Matt that can take on my lifestyle clients, which offers another avenue for people to come on board because it's a lower price point, etc., which is great. But for me, my passion is competitors, as you guys know. It's what I love, and to be able to do that. This is why I had to stop prep. I literally, if I didn't pull prep a few weeks ago, I would have done it in Prague this weekend. Because in my head when I started, I was like, yeah, I'll be all right, I'll do it. But literally zero time. And then I flew back Sunday, got back Sunday night. We fly tomorrow to go to Spain. We fly then from Spain to Romania next Tuesday, and I'm back on like the 15th. You know what I mean? And at that point, I would have been 4 weeks out, 5 weeks out.
You see that with a lot of the coaches. We actually said this on the Q&A, because you said about, Ryan, you said about, wanting more clients, not wanting more clients, wanting to be like, to take coaching further. And my argument was, if you were to do that, you as a bodybuilder would suffer.
Yep, 100%. Like for me, like when I was traveling around in the UK, like the food wasn't a problem. The main thing for me was the timing to get any, at the top of the point, I wasn't doing any cardio, so it wasn't an issue. I was doing bare minimum. For me, it was my recovery and my lack of sleep, and my training took effect straight away. I was going back into the gym after a weekend of traveling. I was like, fuck, it took me 2 or 3 days to recover, because I was getting like 2 or 3 hours of sleep night sleep. And basically it was affecting my training, and I knew that at some point my cardio is going to be elevated, which is then going to have an adverse effect to everything as well. So it was at the point for me to say, yeah, like, this is not going to happen. And me realistically stepping on stage again, it probably will never happen again.
That's it.
If everything goes to plan with the coaching, you know what I mean? I wouldn't pull back my services just for me to step on stage again.
Nothing to prove.
No.
Yeah.
Like,
what we kind of touched on this before. Like, I was saying about how it would be good to have more prep clients, more serious people. But you are known as a coach before anything else. I'm known as a bodybuilder before anything else, and that's the difference.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so until I step away from bodybuilding,
at my time on stage, I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? Like, it was nothing for me. My physique isn't at a point where I like, you know what, I really want to push this. You know what I mean? I feel that I get so much enjoyment out of coaching and seeing my guys do well, seeing my guys take overalls, and like going to Prague, going to Spain. You know what I mean? I've got a guy now prepping for the Olympia. You know what I mean? It's crazy. So I can't sort of second guess that and say, you know what, I'll do a bit of competing on the side, because I don't want to sort of lose traction on any of my coaching.
Who have you got prepping for the Olympia?
Kelvin.
I didn't know Kelvin went on. Shit. So yeah, he did mention, actually. He said that he was chatting to you. He said you're a great guy. I didn't realize he actually went on board with that.
Yeah. So like, we met obviously in Prague. Just chatting. He had a bit of a shit time at weigh-in and that. And
yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, fucking annoying it was. We ended up being in a sauna for half an hour, like literally just about to pass out, just to try and make weight. Then went back to the scales, and they had changed the scales. Annoying. But then obviously at that point, prepping himself, like, you know that your head's a bit all over the place at that point as well, because you've just literally just sat in the sauna and nearly killed yourself to make weight when you didn't have to, and your physique's now not at a point where it should be, and you've only got 12 hours to rectify this. And you know, I mean, we just got Troy. I had a really nice guy. Helped him, just give him some suggestions of what to do moving forward for the show, and turns out it was probably one of his best looks to date. Which obviously I'm not taking credit for whatsoever. You know what I mean? I was just there at the time to help him. My wife's come to say hello. 2 secs, guys. Oh, she's just going to say hello. That's it.
Hello, Amanda.
All right. No, I didn't come in for something.
But yeah, now he's going on to, so he's top of the point system now to qualify for the Olympia. We're going to Alicante this weekend. He's going to compete. Obviously, I think it's because of the tier 3 show. So I think if he gets more than like 2 points, he's pretty much, there's no one else that can touch him in the ladder system, which gives him the invite to the Olympia. Yeah,
realistically, he said he just wanted to like get the invite, then step away, because he had 3 planned. He's got 2 more, I believe. Is that right?
It's Alicante, Romania.
Oh.
And then at this point, fingers crossed, everything should go well in Alicante, and he won't need to do Romania.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Are you going to the Olympia?
So that's where I was originally meant to be competing. I was going to be doing the amateur role there. And for me, I'm not vaccinated, so I'd have to buy hook or by crook.
Oh, is that still going on?
Apparently so.
I haven't forgot about it now.
Yeah.
I know, it's freaking annoying. So I would have to try and sort that one way or another. So it would just see what happens at the time. I think we're meant to be away as well at Christmas, so it's just trying to balance it. But you know me, I can prep from Mexico at 3 o'clock in the morning, mate.
Yeah, I said last week. Set his alarm at 3 o'clock just to get my check in, and then amazing.
Yeah.
What I was going to say with that was, do you know what? Right, that was what I was going to say. You are who you are, and you're known as one of the best in the UK for bodybuilders, right? Me personally, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but me personally, but I'm not known as that in the coaching world. I'm more known for bodybuilding. These people who coach and take lifestyle people on, what me and Amy have been discussing, they end up taking the bottom line. So these people that would come on and then come on and go with people like me, now they don't go with people like me. So it ends up affecting my money. These coaches take people who are, they come on for a month, leave. Typically, that would have been money in my pocket, but it's not anymore because they go to these other people. It won't affect you, but it affects people like me. I don't know if it affects people like you, but
hey, I've been. Don't get me wrong. I've been at that situation. You know what I mean? I've come up and been at that point where I've seen people leave me to go to a cheaper service and think,
yeah.
I get fucking worked up about it. Like, but why am I getting worked up about it?
We spoke about this, didn't we?
They're the ones losing out at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The thing is, you don't want these people because they're not going to stay anyway.
Yeah, I get that, but it's still a wage. It's still my income.
Yeah.
If, let's say, over the course of a year, there's 20 of those people, we're talking several thousand potentially.
Yeah, but that's
or whatever your price is. We're talking 3,000-4,000.
Unstable income, isn't it? For me, I mean, I have clients that I've coached for 4 years plus. I have a couple of people that I've been with for 4 years. Majority of them I've had for well over a year, and that for me is a lot more sustainable. Mentally, it's just easier to I'm a lot more at ease because I know I've got these people and I've had them for such a long time. Over having 10 in 10 out constantly, because that's just stress.
And this is where it goes back to that that price point of where people are, the seriousness of the individual coming to that coach. You know what I mean? If they're in a position where they can think, right, I can spend 200, 300, 400 quid a month, whatever it may be, with an individual, that individual's probably not going to chop and change very quickly unless just the coach is giving a shit service. You know what I mean? They're already in their head knowing what they've got to commit to get to their pro qualifier, you know what I mean? Or whatever they want to achieve.
What I've realized is that some people want to coach hop though, just to learn bits from people.
Yeah,
that's fine. I think that's okay.
Each to their own, but then that again, that will determine the type of individual, whether they're serious enough on making their progress as an athlete or as their progress as a coach, potentially. You know what I mean?
I come across it today. One of my clients left. He said he was going to do his off season on his own, and he'd be back, and then he's gone with someone else. And he explained to me, because I want to learn from various different methods. And I was like, cool.
So Dan, we had Dan Bastic. He said exactly that. He said, I hire these coaches to learn. And he said it works for me, so that's fine because he's successful. So
I've worked with 3 coaches in 10 years, and each one of them I've picked some information up. I've learned my own ways, you know what I mean. And it's nothing wrong in doing that because it's a progressive way of learning, and people do it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying this, but Ryan, you may have, whether you have or not, you may have picked up some information from me, or I may have picked up some of you if I work with you. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you think, oh, you know what, that actually does work. So why I would be stupid enough not to utilize it if it doesn't work. You know what I mean? And it's not as if you can't blueprint my way of coaching. What I say about coaching is predominantly up there. It's instinct. You know what I mean? Everybody's got different overseeing eye of an individual's sort of physique, and they would make their own decisions on what they want to do with that person. There's no one blueprint. So like, I could prep you and someone else could prep you to get the same result, but it could be a completely different method. It's especially in the latter parts of prep, you can't teach that shit. You know what I mean? To a certain degree, yes, it's a science and the sort of go-tos. But for me, like the instinct of knowing what to do with physique at those crucial times is where it comes in. I think I was having a conversation with Dan Bassick, ironically, at the PCA finals about this. It is literally instinct of the decisions you make at the crucial points.
I think it's really giving a shit about the sport in general. So I know in my adult life, it's all I've really cared about since I was like 16, well, even since I was younger, but you've been looking at physiques so much that you end up having this intrinsic thing. You know a flat physique, you know a physique that's filled, you know details, you know what needs to be done. And I just think
regardless of what the science says.
Yeah.
Because we've actually said this. Coaches that over science things will tend to not produce the best result because they think, well, science should produce that, but it doesn't always work like that.
Going back to that science thing, like science doesn't say that a man should be able to diet in his last week of prep on 6,300 calories. But that's what Lewis Breed does. You know what I mean? He's Brian.
How much? Sorry,
6,300, and he would lose weight at that with no cardio.
By the sounds of things, he must have the highest metabolic rate there's ever been. Like, it's absolutely absurd.
So he's 105 kilos, and you're 100 and
on stage 15.
Oh, well, what are you now?
136.
Eating 6,700 calories. And gaining. Yeah.
And he's eating that when he's fucking mental. Do you think? I'm not saying this because I actually think Lewis looked incredible, by the way. As I show you, looked really fucking tight. But do you think that amount of food has an effect on the stomach?
So his midsection was the tightest it's ever been for this show. It's the best look he's ever brought. We've got a protocol now where we can really control food consumption probably 12 hours into the show, where he doesn't need that much. I use other tools to help with fullness and maintain that, which then obviously helps his midsection pretty much. He can literally control. I've seen him control the fibers through his ab muscles that well, and it's that flat after consuming probably about, I don't know, 3,000 to 4,000 grams of carbs for 2 days prior to that.
You put a shot, a side tricep of him, and you can see that if the side tricep, if the stomach's flat on a side tricep, you've got it. You know,
like he was the best version that he could be. Was like, I don't know what. So like, it's quite going back to being disheartened, sort of like things into bodybuilding. Like, we done everything we could for that show, and I believe that he brought one hell of a package to that show, and still placed 10th. And it's like, right, we got to go on to 2 more shows now, knowing that how much more better can we get at that point? You know what I mean?
And it depends who's there, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's exactly what it boils down to now, is who turns up on the day. You know what I mean? From a physique perspective, he was full as anything. He was tight. His midsection was controlled. Like, everything was in. And now it's at a point where, what else can we do to your physique other than bring
sometimes the same? It could just be earning your stripes, so being seen.
So again, something else I was going to put into this is the politics in bodybuilding and all that. It's at the pro league, it's very evidential that earning your stripes is a thing to a degree.
What would you say what about things like Krizo and Andrew Jack?
How many followers they got? How much hype have they got behind them? You know what I mean? Like, the moment he stepped on stage, the whole crowd was on their feet. You know what I mean? Lewis Breed steps out on stage. There was me going, "Go on, Lou."
Yeah.
And it was evidential last year, unfortunately, at the Big Man, where there were 17 competitors on stage with him, and it was his pro debut. And they brought all 17 guys up on stage, and he was number 17 on the end. You know what I mean? Like, in the shadows of the stage. And then they obviously split it down, but he was still right in the end. Like, and he literally, because as you do on stage, you look at the judges, don't you, and try and get that sort of like that interaction. Nothing. Like, they didn't even look at him once. Which, you know what I mean? Again, going back to our new stripes, and you know what I mean? If when that name comes out, Krizo, they're going to automatically look up and like, how well is he looking? You know what I mean? How's Lewis Breed looking? Oh, who's Lewis? You know what I mean? That's it's a shame that I'm saying that, but I believe it's a thing. Does that make sense? Where I would like to think that
that's natural, though, wouldn't you say? Because we've all got that. Even if you don't want to admit it, we all have that like thing, because you just expect to see certain people and other people you just haven't seen or you don't know of.
Yeah. But I've physically been on stage. Actually, the show before I was with you, Mark, I had eye contact with them, as you say. Like, you literally look at them to see what's going on. None of them looked at me.
Yeah.
None of them were looking at me, and it was so disheartening. And it's almost, you think to yourself, well, are they not looking at me because I'm not good enough, or is there something more to this?
Yeah, and a good judge will know who's won within 20, 30 seconds of being on stage. You know what I mean? And that's where the sort of like the focus goes. But Amanda's got her pro debut this weekend. She's looking insane, but again, she's going against some very, very good girls. So it'll be interesting to see how she's. I just like hope that they sort of judge her fairly and just give her a look in. You know what I mean? That's all you can ask of at that level. You know what I mean?
I think there's such a step up to be a pro, though. You know,
like, being in that environment, it's crazy. Like, yeah, to a certain degree with the amateur like sort of scene, but then being at that sort of pro level scene, it's completely different.
I touched on it on the podcast, and I said to you the other day, there's part of me that almost doesn't know if I want to get it yet, because it was. And everyone, whenever I say this, people go, "Don't be so down on yourself. You can do it." They don't realise. I'm being realistic. I'm 6'3". What am I going to fucking do? If I was 5'11", yeah, maybe. But
and this goes back to me again, being a competitor. Like, if I had a dedicated couple of years and I could potentially get a pro card, what am I going to do with a pro card? You know what I mean? I've got then like 10 pounds to gain in my category as a classic physique boy, and how long's that going to take to be competitive with the other guys that are already in that division? You know what I mean?
I think, Ryan, for you though, it's just that next stepping stone, because what are you going to do? Are you going to go and win a bunch more swords in the Fit X? Like, what for?
Yeah, I think I know the answer to that already, Chad. And all I'm thinking in my head, what I do is I tell myself this: I know when I'm stood next to people, I look big. Now, as much as I think in my head I'm a bit stringy and I'm a bit long-limbed and shit, I know when I'm in that lineup, I know I'm going to look big, and an eye will be drawn to me. A bit like Jamie Jahal. I'm not as good.
I think you risk.
Not as good as him.
If you don't, you kind of risk being like the small fish in a big pond.
And you are, like, don't get me wrong, like, believe me, like, we all started somewhere in bodybuilding, you know what I mean? And we were those small fishes, you know what I mean? And then you become to the sort of elite level as an amateur. But if you do want to progress, you have to take that jump. You know what I mean? You have to take that jump and be in that pond again. You know?
And I think knowing that, you're going to think, well, best not skip that meal, or best not skip that workout, or that set. I best make sure it, you know, because you strive to be at that point.
And it will. Look at people like Mark Hector. You know what I mean? Craig Morton, who I competed against early in the year, great guy, and he's done exceedingly well heading into the pro ranks. You know what I mean? So it's doable for sure, 100%. But you have to have that focus and realistic time that potentially it may fall short of your expectations. And you have to know how to deal with it.
I think being an open class bodybuilder and being 6'3", it's for me, Jamie Jahal, he's the gold standard of extremely tall bodybuilders, and if he can't do it, what chance have I got? And I know that. So all I can do is just be my best, but I don't know. I can't help but think that it might be like the beginning of the end once I get it.
But does it matter then? Does it matter?
Because I love doing it, mate. I bodybuild because I love it. I can't live without it.
Sure. So that's my argument. Competitively, does it matter? You turn pro, then you could still compete. It doesn't, you know.
I guess I'm also a little bit sensitive. So if I keep getting beaten like 10th, 12th, It's going to hurt my feelings, you know.
Yeah, it will, but then it's like, right, what do I do? Do I just keep turning up, or and that's what it is, and you know what I mean? You have to.
Everything feels backwards unless it's IFBB Pro now. Everything's going to feel backwards. So, yeah.
Even the PCA for you now is probably a bit.
I want to do a pro show. I want to do a PCA pro show. I think that level is, but
You're Ryan and Alex on stage together.
Yeah, shit, that'd be good.
Yeah,
that'd be good. It's gonna be hard for you though.
Mate, yeah, I've got so many guys doing the first part of next year. It's gonna be fun. But you know what I mean? Like I'll literally put everything into anybody. It doesn't mate. I was going to step on stage next to Julian, who was prepping at the same time, wasn't I?
Yeah.
Then he moved to bodybuilding. So it's no. I'll just bring everybody in at the best they can, and let the judges do the decision making.
Do you think Alex is going to do a show early next year?
Potentially this year, mate.
You picked your shows yet, Aaron?
Hey,
Ryan? Have you picked your shows? Have you? Well, both of you, because you.
No, sort of, yeah. It's starting sooner rather than later, which is fucking
blessing.
You want that though, don't you? Because you know the earlier qualifiers and
I think so. I just love prepping, mate. I love prepping, and prepping with Martin is just it's been. I've always loved prepping. I've always loved bodybuilding, but with Martin, it's just that next level. I just enjoy it so much. So
that's been probably your longest off season.
No. It's only been 7 or 8 months, and I've done over a year before. I had all of 2019 off.
COVID.
No, I started off season in October 18, and I did it until January 20, or December 20.
I always thought your off seasons are fairly short.
Anywhere between like 4 months to a year.
Yeah.
I've been more off season than I have prep in the last 6 years.
Yeah,
I've put on like 15 kilos of stage weight. Yeah.
Would have been more if you had some real gear.
Mate, it makes you wonder, like, if I was through prep on shitty gear.
Yeah.
Mate, fuck.
Thing is, on prep, because you've got so many different compounds, one of them will do something.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But now I'm holding. I'm 300. I weighed myself earlier on. I'm 303 during the day, 304 during the day. I've never been like this ever, and I'm not even uncomfortable. I'm okay. Like
I was going to say, you've held that 300 for a long time.
Yeah, it's been almost a month. I've been this way now, and like I say, during the day I'm always over 300, and I've never done this before. So
ever since you got decent stuff.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
What are you going to weigh? Estimate next year.
Honestly, it doesn't. Like, I hate. It's a shit answer.
No, but it doesn't. No, but it matters because that's kind of how we quantify progress.
Okay. It'd be great to
put a number on it.
It'd be great to put a kilo or 2 kilos on top of what I was last year. The morning of Universe, I was 115.
Yeah.
So if I was 116, 117, yeah. But all I know is that condition is the fucking king, mate. Like, I used to worry about. Like, I was 114 on stage in 2018. And this year I went lower than that. When we depleted down, I went lower than that. Like, and it just tells you how far away from being properly in I was then.
Yeah.
So.
That's one thing I don't focus on, weight at all. So Lewis's base weight now is very similar to what his base weight was, just a few kilos up from last time he was on stage. And but his shape is completely different. You know what I mean? So as long as that's a better package.
I guess at that level, even like a kilo.
Yeah.
I think this is a good piece of advice for anyone watching. Like, just seriously, forget the scales and go by the look, please. Yeah. You do yourself a big favor.
Well, years and years I would get caught up if people told me, right, I need to be I'm a heavyweight, I need to make weight. I tell people now, I say, you'll come in whatever weight you're coming in at, and that's your best look. You know what I mean? Whether you're the top end of a heavyweight or your bottom end of a super heavyweight. I learned this with Lewis. One of the first, we had that mentality of, right, we'll go in for the heavyweight. I think it was 2019 or 18. We'll go in for the top of the range of the heavyweights. And we'll be top there. We'll be the best in the heavyweights, and we're into the overall. he weighed on his scales literally 0.1 into the range of the top of the heavyweights. Got to the show, literally like 20 minutes after weigh-in, and their scales were out, but they didn't tell us. We just weighed in, didn't even look at the scales, and just cracked on because we thought, yeah, you know what, we've made it. We're a heavyweight. We said, oh, heavyweight, so and so. Next day, I'm looking at the heavyweight list. Lewis wasn't there. I was like, you've forgotten Lewis on the list. So yeah, he's a super heavy. So he was in the super heavy. We didn't find out until literally 2 hours before stage. Lewis, like, I've still got to beat them if I want to win the overall anyway. So yeah. And then I think he went against Banji, I believe. On the day, it was 120 kilos or 123 kilos, something like that on the day. And Lewis was like 100 or something like that, whatever the cutoff point is. And beat him. You know what I mean? So weight's irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, this is
the thing. Sometimes that the heavyweight is actually more competitive than the super, because a lot of the supers like bank on, well, I'm super, so they come out of shape.
Yeah, and a lot of people have said, oh, why isn't Lewis a 212? Lewis has got to lose about 8 kilos to be a 212. And there's not 8 kilos there.
How tall is he?
5'8", 5'7", yeah, 5'8".
I'm not sure.
5'8", yeah. You know what I mean? But for a 212, like, he would be a good obviously he's just a little bit taller than the ideal 212, but he would be a very good 212 if he could drop 8 kilos somewhere.
Yeah, you've really got to let go of weight, because yeah, you see the competitor list and you're like, fucking hell, he's like 30, he's 135. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It matters how good you are, not how big you are. Yes, size matters to a degree, but like I've lost to guys way smaller than me as well.
Yeah. Ironically, that day Lewis then lost to the light heavy for the overall.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Or was it Bob Waterhouse? Was it?
No. It was I think it was a Spanish dude. It was the Ben Weider, I think 2018 or 2019. Yeah, I can't. Who's a Spanish dude? I think he was Spanish or Italian, something like that. Yeah. He's actually he does classic physique now, I think. Pro. So yeah.
Well, we've detoured pretty heavily there.
Yeah.
Competitors who do one show and then a fitness coach one show later. Yes, they should go into room 101, 100%.
Yeah.
Right. We are now on
to we touched on this a little bit earlier. So the gym bro that can't afford his blood works, but then runs a stack the size of my arm. And I think we touched on it earlier about paying for coaching when they run X amount of growth, etc., etc. Priorities, basically, within your funding of bodybuilding. Yeah,
I think people don't like. I don't want to say his name, I don't want to go into too much detail, but he's incredibly ill at the moment, to the point where he needs surgery. He's got real bad liver issues. Very close friend of mine, and it's due to not taking care of what he's been doing over the last 5-6 years. Yeah, and my point is, and I said it last week as well, it's only too late when it's too late. People bragging about how much they do this, that, and the other, not realizing that the important bit is adherence, training, diet, and actually how you're doing that, you know, and not caring about your health is not fucking big, it's not clever. Giving a shit what's going in really matters.
Yeah, and especially as a coach, you have to have that concern to an individual. And then when I say to people, right, before we even do anything, I need to see your blood panels, like recent blood panel. And then they say, well, I can't afford to do that, mate. And then next question's like, so what cycle can I run? It's like,
yeah, one of the first things that people always ask you about steroids when they begin.
Those conversations don't last very long.
What do you say?
Come back to me when you got a sensible head on. Something along those lines. I'm not so blunt, but you know what I mean? I know that person, and that's where, again, it's that it refers back to that price point. Once that conversation has been had, and then the price point, and then it's like, right, okay, this kid doesn't really have a clue what he wants in life. He just wants to get massive and thinks that he can step on stage, sort of thing. Those conversations probably last 15-20 minutes, when potentially a client that I will speak to on a consultation will last an hour and a half. They're the ones I know that are the sort of the ones that are going to jump on board with me, and they're 100% serious. And it's not even brought up in consultation. You know what I mean? About PEDs and things like that.
I think most people are now fairly sensible to get blood work. And back, I mean, 4, 5, 6 years ago, even blood work wasn't even a thing.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been that guy that ran for like 2-3 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you
TTS.
say, oh, you might like blood work's like, we went for we never got blood work. We were fine. But yeah.
But was it available back then? If it was available like it is now, would we still do it? If you know what I'm saying? Like,
of course, we would get blood work. Yeah, we would.
Like,
yeah.
There was no like, unless you went to the doctor and had a decent doctor, you could sort of say, like, just can you just check my levels for us and let me know if I'm getting all right, sort of thing. Yeah. Or it'd be fuck off, mate. You shouldn't be touching steroids.
I tried to get one in 2015 after my first show, and I was dismissed. They were like, "No way, you're taking antibiotics. We're not going to do it."
Yeah. So
what I used to do is I used to just say, "Look, I'm a bodybuilder. I eat a lot, or things like train a lot.
Yeah.
So, and I'll just go and I'll say, oh, I haven't felt great recently, like." And then they'll do that. They'll do
it. They used to do it for me. I just said, look, this is what I do. You know what I mean? I sort of played on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Importance of it. And but
then it's just a fucking nightmare. You know, you got to book it and then you got to, it's long.
That's what I mean. And like, yeah, it was free, but it was a hassle. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But like, for the cost of between like 100 or 150 quid, you got peace of mind. You know what I mean? And
why do you think people aren't valuing it? Why do people not think?
Because they don't have the knowledge, because they are those gym bros that aren't the ones that take this serious enough. They're the ones that just want to look jacked for a Saturday night down the pub. You know what I mean? And that's where that consultation goes very, very quickly. You know what I mean? It's one of those things, like I said, it's narrowing down the individuals that work with you, I guess. It's going to waste your time. But it's just a frustrating thing. You hear it like in the gym, you get the guys in the gym rock up to you and say, mate, oh, what cycle should I let me know some in advance on what cycle I could take. You know, I want to get big, I want to stay lean. I mean, then I want to get ripped for my holiday, you know, and then like you say, oh, but what's your blood work saying at the moment? And it's like, what's that? Never had them done. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've been there, but there was a time where that was not available. So
I think as coaches, that's our job to, 100%. You know, when they tell you that they're taking a rip blend and you just think, oh,
Evo and rip blend too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's more of a frustration, you know what I mean? Priorities in this game. But again, I think that sort of narrows down the individuals that you work with quite quickly.
Well, as you say, I mean, when I first started training, online coaching wasn't a fucking thing. No. It wasn't a thing. And nor was, as you say, how easy it was to get a blood test. Now you've got so much information, you've got so many people who are knowledgeable, there's almost no excuse.
Yeah.
You know, back when we were careless, but it's because there was not much around. No.
Yeah, and the person that told me to take it was the guy behind the gym and said, yeah, take that and eat like 2 chicken breasts a day and like a bag of rice. You know what I mean? It's I think that level.
More so than the blood work is the diet part. When you like send someone out to diet and you know they're like, oh, I can't afford salmon, but like you said, like the weekend when they've got their off-plan meal, they'll spend like 100 quid on you. You just think, well, how does that make sense?
Salmon's a one, isn't it? Salmon, people kick back on salmon, don't
they?
Yeah.
Fucking hell! What? How much is salmon? It's like a fiver. Like it's not.
Yeah, but every day, if you do.
Why is that such a problem? What, beef, £3 fine.
Like you.
Fucking mad.
Yeah, and the thing is, obviously, we all know that from a coaching perspective, salmon has its benefits, etc. But these individuals don't, to a certain degree. And if it's just Joe Bloggs wanting to get ripped, you know what I mean, he'll go off the basics and cheapest if that's what he can afford. You know what I mean? Like supplementation as well.
Honest, for clients like that, I know aren't going to stick to the salmon because even if they can afford it, chances are cooking it. They're gonna go, oh, I didn't get the chance to cook it, so I missed that meal. I just would not put salmon in there just to save myself there.
That type of person, 100%.
But going back to the sort of functionality of affordability and things like that, and it's like what sort of OCS are you running at the moment? What on cycle support are you running when you're running your gear? You know what I mean? And the amount of times, oh yeah, I'm taking my vitamin C and omega 3. And then the real of all the available supplementation that is a benefit to us, you know what I mean, that easily add up to maybe 200 quid a month potentially, you know what I mean.
Well, I think what it is, right, so think about this, I think it's when you end up adding everything up, the accumulation. So coach, gym membership, food, supplements, steroids,
Growth.
And if you can cut a corner somewhere but still get the result,
that'll be the ones. Because they want the results without having to deal with anything else.
I think that comes to, Martin, your market is the bodybuilders that are gonna take that anyway. They like me and Ryan, like we're that kind of type level client. That like Ryan would not skip out on his supplements. We would not skip out on a salmon. I'm the same way. But the lifestyle clients, they're not gonna do that. So for me, I have to kind of, I'm sure Ryan, you're probably very similar, where if a client like that comes up to you, you adjust that to the client because you still want them to progress. And if that's unsustainable, you know.
Don't get me wrong, and I have these conversations with people when they get their introduction videos. I've still got a few lifestyle clients from time of old, you know what I mean, that still work with me. And I respect the fact that potentially they'll take PEDs and the fact that they may not be in a position to run all the supplementation that I'll say, right, these are the main ones you need. As long as you just take these, okay? Please just take these for your own health. Like, you know what I mean? You'll get away with it as much as you can. You have to respect the individual. Everything that we do as a coach is a recommendation. We can only recommend to an individual what is laid out in front of them. You know what I mean? They don't have to buy it from the people that the supplements that we recommend because we know that they're good. They can go to My Protein or Bulk Powders and get the sort of doctored down version of that product that's not going to probably touch the sides. You know what I mean? To a certain degree. And then I always try and sort of say, look, don't waste your money on crap supplementation. It'll prove in your blood works, and I've seen it time and time again. And then they end up paying again for more supplementation and paying for more blood works.
Well, basically, I think a lot of it is people like to see an immediate reward for what they're doing, and taking these supplements isn't necessarily going to give you that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can easily just not have a blood test, not take it, and just bury your head in the sand and go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Like we used to.
Yeah. It's easy to do that, so I can sort of see why they would, but.
Yeah, as a coach, it's in our duty to recommend at least the full stack of health supplementation, blood work analysis, and all things like that. That's all we can do is recommend. Now, whether an individual does it or not is a different thing.
Because this is people don't get the fact that this ain't gonna ruin your blood work after like one cycle. It takes years, but it's kind of like long term because they think, well, I did my blood work, it's fine. Why should I be taking such and such? Yeah. And you think, well, because it's long term. It's like when people go, so, you know, I'm just going to start my first cycle. Is my hair going to fall out? I'm like, no.
Tomorrow it's gone.
Yeah. It's like, even if it does, I'll say to people, even if it does, it will take cycles, not just one cycle, but it's, you know, it kind of accumulates. So like your lipid profile ain't going to get like ruined within one cycle, but it's kind of precautionary that over time you got to pay attention to it.
Like you could do first couple of cycles, not run anything, and you could potentially have good blood works, and you could run with that. But then it's like you said, it's a long-term effect of everything.
Well, I think it's the amount as well, though, because I think people go from not doing any steroids straight to doing like 5 compounds.
Yeah,
I don't know, mate. When I first started, I started with just one. I started with Test E. What happened to those cycles? You go from nothing to everything.
What do I do in my cycle with you? Literally, we start on like baby amounts. You know what I mean?
I think the safer use crowd has brought that up, where now you got to use 16 compounds at like 100 milligram, like, you know, and I think it's obviously pros and cons, because I think sometimes it can be overkill. Like now everyone's got to use metformin. Like, well, you might fucking not need it, but no, you got to use it. You know,
it's I think, and they have their benefits, and there's a reason why it's been studied and put into process, I guess. But again, is what would happen if you didn't, you know what I mean? But as a bodybuilder, you know yourself that if I'm going to get an advantage out of taking this, fuck it, I'll take it. You know what I mean?
It's the accumulation of all of these little small
even if you don't understand the sort of the reasoning behind it, if your coach is saying, well, these are the things that I would like you to take, this is going to get you from A to B on stage looking fucking awesome. As a bodybuilder, you tend to say, okay, boss, I'll take it. You know what I mean?
Sure, for sure. Yeah, I just think people need to realize that bodybuilding ain't cheap. It ain't cheap. And if you want it to be cheap, then you're probably not going to do very well. You know, if you're doing it properly, there's a lot of fucking costs that are involved. So
yeah, and there's zero return and reward for it.
Yeah.
Alex won 1,500 quid PCA Pro, covered part of the prep. You know what I mean? Yeah. Lewis, I think top place in 10 grand was first place. I think at the pro show it was a tier 3 one, so it was 10 grand. I think second was 5, then 2. I think that's what he's done through top 3 places. So if you come third, you got 2 grand at a pro show.
That's not where the money is. If you want to be rich, don't bodybuild. Do something on the side, I reckon. Right, let's get a conclusion so we can move to the last one. Yeah. Gym bros who can't afford blood works but can afford all of the fucking drugs.
Put them in the bin.
Oh, then, so then the last one, because we've gone about it before.
Yeah.
The
sort of urgency to gain that illustrious pro card. That's not mine, by the way.
Go on.
The amount of people before they even step pretty much into a bodybuilding environment want to achieve a pro card in their head before even thinking about obtaining an anywhere near pro worthy physique. That sort of thing.
I think again I could probably blame social media.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, because so many people talking about swords and fucking this, that, and the other. Do you remember when you first competed, mine? Were you thinking about the sword? Were you thinking about the overall?
No. I did Mr. Plymouth in 2012 or 2013, my local show. I just wanted to turn up and like first show, was anxious as hell. Step on stage, just wanted to be like hold myself high and think that fuck it, I've done everything I can.
Yes.
To be fair, it was probably the prep that I took most serious. Was my first ever, which, you know what I mean, and that's how it should be.
How did you do?
I think I was second. I don't even know where it is. Second.
Yeah.
My first show at Mr. Plymouth. Yeah,
I was second my first show as well.
Beginners, that clients that are just kind of like starting, not starting out, but they've trained for a bit. They come for coaching and they go, well, my long term next year goal is to compete. Why? They almost feel like if you go to the gym and you take bodybuilding semi-seriously, you must compete. Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Well, it's the introduction of all the other categories. So back in the day, it was bodybuilding, right? Men's physique, bikini for girls. These categories have allowed people who have only been training a year to be able to compete.
And the federation, and the federation ladder, should we say?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because you see on social media, like X federation not producing, shall I say wrong words, having said competitors on stage at a level, and then people can relate to that and think, you know what, I can do that.
Yeah. And so, some men physique guys are amazing, by the way, so please no disrespect. And some bikini, but I've been to so many shows, and we all have. How many in that bikini lineup have got little to no muscle? Let's be honest. Very, very little muscle.
I don't stay for the physique and the bikini classes. I just watch the bodybuilding and I leave.
Yeah. It's almost I don't know. Like you said, there's a category for everybody. I think one federation does like new mums or something like that.
Yes, mums that lift.
Yeah, something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it is, because I've had someone do that.
And they do a transformation one as well.
Yes, I've had someone do that too.
Yeah. Hey, do you know what? Fair play. Like,
it's not taken away.
But you know what? That's impressive.
Yeah,
because you see someone that's lost 100 pounds, and they go on and they don't look like bodybuilders, but they look decent. They look good. But
it's not
bodybuilding.
Is that I was going to say, is that for a bodybuilding show though?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like the
But
mums
then
who lift.
those people don't
Mums who
treat that as like if we say, okay, if someone says to you, I'm doing the pure elite, no one thinks, oh, that's bodybuilding.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
it's just
some people will, but we don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who does? Who like
People
Well,
compete.
non-bodybuilders would. Non-bodybuilders would.
Yeah.
yeah, I guess.
Don't get me wrong, like you know, you like your nan or your mum, and we'll see those people on stage. Oh, look at her, she did well, didn't she? She got first place in that show. She must be brilliant. We've seen it firsthand. We've had the conversations with people, with mums and older generation people who will see a post on Facebook saying that so and so's won XYZ federation. You know what I mean? And we know that it means absolutely nothing. And then they'll say, "Oh, they must be good as you. Like, are they doing a pro show with you?"
Yeah. My mate's a pro, and you're like,
yeah, you know, like, oh, my nephew does all that stuff that you do, and you're like, and then you see the nephew, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, and this is not taken away from any individual whatsoever for the commitment that they put in to get to stage. I think the way that social media and the way that new federations are coming through, allowing the bodybuilding world to be saturated from a level of like standard like that rather than being up there like that.
I think fair play. If you're a mum, you know, you've given birth to a child, 2 child, 3 child, what, and then you have the confidence and then you have that willpower to get yourself there, like fucking good. But there just needs to be a distinction because it's not bodybuilding, is it? It's something, it's its own thing.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't respect him, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's his own thing.
Know the difference when they say, oh, I'm a pro in mums that lift. Because you do that class, you turn pro in that class, and you're now a pro in that. But you know, you're not a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? An older person will see someone who's like about 20% body fat, and they'll be like, "Oh, did you see her? Oh, there's nothing of her. There's nothing of her." You're like,
we need to get a decent meal in there.
Yeah. I was talking to someone about this the other day. I'm sure we're all the same. I've ruined myself now because my Instagram is saturated with like elite level bodybuilders. Now when I just see an amateur, I'm like, you know, because your level is up here.
But I think that then transfer. I've been thinking about this recently, and I think that transfers into the way that you then coach, because my eyes want to see everybody in the condition that I get everybody in. No matter the level of guy that comes to me, I want to get them into that level of elite condition. Does that make sense to a certain degree? I don't know if I put that across right, but it almost in your head ingrained, you know where you need to get somebody.
It's a standard, doesn't it?
Yeah. You know what I mean? And like, I pride myself on getting people fucking condition. Do you know what I mean? And I would hate myself if I got to a point where I couldn't achieve that. And I think that, I don't know, it's.
You say everyone has the ability to get proper peeled. And I don't mean like kind of, I mean peeled. Do you think everyone's got it?
Everybody's got it, yes. But it does depend on a lot of things, including genetics, I think, because race, skin type, everything, male, female, age, all plays a part in that. The level of condition that you can, how muscle maturity. Like I've got paper thin skin, and like when I get peeled, things literally like transparent. I know people that have got thick skin and don't have that vascularity, crazy conditioning, but they have a conditioned look. Does that make sense?
Do you think how many times you've done it, you've obviously gotten conditioning is obviously like your first prep compared to your 10th?
I was conditioned then, not obviously in comparison, like I was still peeled, you know what I mean? I just didn't have the fucking muscle. I was like 85 kilos.
Right.
I
But
think it's easier to get in shape the longer you do it.
Yeah, it does become easier. And I've certainly noticed that within myself and within athletes that like work with me for long term. But I think everybody has the sort of ability to get into maximum condition, but that maximum condition may be portrayed differently on each individual.
I think we like when you see a black, like, you know, like someone of African descent, they've got their muscles are like, as you say, that conditioned look, but they don't look grainy.
Yeah.
And then you get someone who's like Celtic,
Caucasian
dry,
like a Kim Williams, like his back's like always softer.
Yeah, and then you look at Branch Warren.
Yeah.
And that horrible look, you know what I mean? It's like, oh.
Yeah, and that's they can still be the level. And if you've done a body fat percentage test on them and they potentially have the same body fat, it will just look different. That's how I think everybody has the capability of getting conditioned, whether you're coming from and dropping 10 stone, 20 stone to get to that condition. Obviously that factor will be loose skin, etc. But everybody has the right to get to a certain amount of body fat, I feel.
Martin, do you think how long you've been out of shape or off season or whatever, do you think that amount of time has a bearing on how long prep is? So yeah, so if you're like, let's say I hold 300 now for 6 months, that means I've been this big for 6 months. Would it then take longer to prep, do you believe?
Again, depends on the individual. I know I can get you in shape in 7 weeks from a certain point. That certain point isn't where we are now. So I have to be clever and think, right, I do need 16 weeks. Whether we need 16 weeks, I will start at 16 weeks and then see where we are and then pull, you know what I mean? And that's where I do think that sort of longer off season period potentially can play an impact on your prep, because metabolic rate will be at a different level. Thyroid potentially, you know what I mean? All things obviously following blood works, you can tell. But I think you are very responsive when you're at a certain body fat level. We've seen that we've done 7 weeks, we've done 10 weeks, 11 weeks, whatever it is, and get you winning.
What's the longest prep you've done with someone from start to finish?
24 weeks, I think.
Okay.
Oh,
24.
Yeah.
No.
I had a client who's actually now Chudley's coach. Louis, I don't know if you know him, the Rhino on Instagram.
Yeah.
He is my client for like 5 years, and his body is so unresponsive. And we used to laugh about it. Like I've never known someone to change that slowly. It's crazy. He done a prep. It was 30 weeks.
He did a 30-week prep. Fucking hell.
I've got someone at the moment that's doing a 5-week prep. Yes, but it's all relevant. His body composition, where it was. So.
I think if I was around 270 now, 280, we could do a 5-week probably.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think you're going to hold a lot more fullness if you did a longer prep.
Yes.
Yeah, depending on your coach.
Well, we spoke about.
I'm talking about you, Ryan.
Yeah. I think if we do it a bit longer, we spoke about it, didn't we, Mark? If we do it a bit longer, there's going to be a net better result with holding more fullness.
Because aren't people different? So some people like you, Ryan, you might do better off with a shorter prep, but because you've said this before that you actually prefer the shorter prep, shorter, more aggressive over longer, more drawn out, because you kind of get not tired, but
for us, nothing will really change from a perspective. It's a 16-week prep. It's almost like, right, okay, let's just back off the calories to a certain degree. You know, Ryan will thank me when that happens. And he'll instantly start to drop body weight. You know what I mean? Nothing will change in regards to the PEDs. That output may be slightly increased, but probably not for a few weeks. It'll be a point where we'll just readjust, because I know how responsive he can be at a certain level. And then he will be fresher going into the show. Like myself, I from a certain body fat percentage, I can prep in 10, 12 weeks easy. And I much prefer that, because you can stay fresh, you can manage fatigue to a certain degree if you know the individual. You know what I mean? It would be a gamble on taking Joe Bloggs on, who's 25% body fat, and saying, yeah, you can do a 12-week prep. You know what I mean? Because it may work, but it may not. You know what I mean? So I know Ryan's body, and I know how. I take
it you wouldn't take on a client that just comes to you for prep.
Yeah.
Oh, you would. Say someone comes to you and goes, Martin, I'm 10 weeks out.
Yeah, I've done it, and I'll do the necessary to get him in position. You know what I mean? And they'll have to understand that. Like the guy that I'm doing at the moment is doing a 5-week prep. I've worked with him before. I know how his body responds. He was in a good position. I can say, yeah, we can do this in 5 weeks, easy. You know what I mean? From the joys of social media as well. If it's someone that I know, you know what I mean, and I know from seeing their transformation between prep and off season, you can get a gauge of that individual, of how they hold and how they respond from previous show pictures potentially, you know,
Yeah.
what I mean? Knowing who
How
they
much
are.
harder is it to coach someone like Ryan compared to a men's physique guy?
Nothing different, mate. I've had what 3 overall men's physique guys in the last.
Or no, peaking.
Peaking up. So Ryan first time around, it was not hard, but it becomes almost, again, going back to those instincts of, right, I know that I can push this guy because he's a fucking big guy. You know what I mean? It's knowing how much you can push that individual. It's like referring back to Lewis and how much I have to push him through that peak sort of thing. The bigger the guys, unless you don't know them, like I know Ryan's body now, so it's a walk in the park. But it's the bigger, the harder I feel. But again, it's one of those things that you can have stubborn guys from a men's physique point of view at 60, 70 kilos that just don't respond. So that's when that comes in, especially if from a natural point of view as well, when your tools are greatly reduced.
Do you think my height comes into it?
Well, I think it's just your overall size in general, 115 kilos of stage weight that you have to manipulate.
I think the reason why I say height, because you can feed me up a lot, and I have a tendency, especially in the morning check-ins that I send. So when I stand in my kitchen, I look flat and empty, and whereas other people after carb loading look super full, bursting full, but I never really have that bursting full look.
No, because you utilize it so quickly. You come around in the morning and you'll be flat, but I know that with X amount of fat source, carbohydrate source, protein source, you can be at this level, you know what I mean? And that's where, if I see you at your worst, I know what you can be at your best, sort of thing. And that's where I go with everybody, especially like, you know, how sort of much detail I put into that peak week and how regular I sort of monitor you and things like that. And that's crucial to making sure that I know your body, you know what I mean? And that's what I do with anybody that jumps on board. That last week is literally 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day if I need to see the response of the body. And like I said, I could have a natural 60, 70 kilo men's physique boy, and he could be just as difficult as 115 kilo super heavy. Is the longer you work with someone, the easier it becomes, and we all know that. So
yeah, so the last like couple of shows, it was the most fun. Like I thought 2021 was good. It was still you learning me, but this year was like totally different.
Yeah.
Like, nothing I'd ever experienced before. It was fucking great.
I think all of your shows this year have been spot on.
Yeah.
Even was the first one the Manchester one?
FitX was the first one, wasn't it? And that was an impromptu that was a sort of like, fuck it, let's do it in 2 weeks' time sort of thing, wasn't it? I think.
I decided on the Wednesday to compete on Sunday. Yeah,
because you just turned up.
Yeah, and it was weird though, because the photo, I never liked the FitX photos as much, but they don't look as conditioned as the PCA ones, but I've got the check-ins and everything. Like I was fucking really happy with that look, to be honest. Yeah. Pretty fresh.
Yeah, and that's it. It was fresh. You know what I mean? I think that was the 7-weeker, wasn't it? I think by then was that the 7-weeker? No.
It was like 10. I think it was like 10.
Yeah, it was 7 the year before, wasn't it?
I think that looked better than the Exeter one. I personally, because I see both looks.
Yeah, you were there, weren't you? In crowd,
in person, yeah. So I preferred that look to whether it was the lighting, because obviously PCA has a different lighting to FitX.
Yeah, I think we were definitely full at PCA. Fuller, I believe, because we pushed a little bit more. And that's the beauty of me being there in person, you staying at my house. It was like, right, I can literally gauge it every sort of half an hour, couldn't I? And just say, look, eat more. Where that sort of online sort of prep peak sometimes does take a disadvantage, but we've not done that bad, have we?
Done all right, mate. Well, mate, we're gonna let you fucking go and pack. Yeah. And also, best of luck for the weekend. You got was Amanda, Lewis. Good luck.
I literally came in to start writing to him to tell him some stuff. I'm going for a sunbed.
You should just pack for him. It's just
no chance. Don't even like packing now. I'm not. Not a normal female. He's more organised than I am.
Yeah, choose your words, Evan.
I'm not. No, I am a female. I'm not a normal female. Normally the girls are organised, but I'm just really
In
bad.
prep mode.
Every time I go away, I pack everything wrong. Like not enough pairs of pants, or just it goes wrong, doesn't it? Every time.
It does.
And he always gets it right. So he should back mine, really. Come on,
Right,
come on
right.
back.
Yeah, to be fair,
She's
she's like 4 days out. Come on.
Cool, guys.
All right. Thank you very much, mate.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Catch you
All the
later.
best, my man.
Bye,
Bye.
bye, bye.